Okay, work in progress number 4 on the 1/6 Shadow Elixir Predator kit, sculpted, produced, and sold by Narin. So I was doing a little live broadcast earlier today, but no one was watching, so I stopped it. So I figured I'd do a little bit of masking on this video since it's part of the process. I actually forgot to paint the hands yesterday, so I spent the morning doing that. Luckily, there's not a lot to paint for the skin, and luckily I did videos because I knew exactly all my steps, but they turned out really, really nice. This skin looks badass. I mean, I was a little unsure of it until I woke up this morning and looked at it, and it looks really freaking good. So I'm super happy with it. So right now, I contemplated hand painting all this stuff. There is a lot of hand painting involved, but for the large areas, I want to be able to spray a base coat, and to do that, I want to mask. Again, I'm a tape guy. I'm not a huge fan of silly putty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask off. You actually see here all the details I airbrushed in yesterday. They look really good. I'm going to mask off the legs here. I'm not going to mask off the feet because this is all hand painted leather and stuff like that. So I'm going to hand paint all this, and then when I'm ready to do this part of the armor, I'll mask that off or silly putty it. Anywhere it's an easy touch up, I'll do silly putty, but 99% of the time I use tape. And then on the torso, I'll mask off his chest, this arm, and I think his helmet. This little neck part will get hand painted because I can't get tape up in there. It'll be easier to hand paint. So I'll tape all these areas off. So again, let's show you a little bit of how I do that. Nothing difficult. Just, again, takes time. So I got some Tamiya tape here. I've been doing it 2 ways, little pieces of tape, since I got a lot of complex curves and areas to get into. And then I've been putting it down and cutting it. So I've got a brand new blade in my X-Acto knife. And I'm just cutting small strips of tape over here. I think it's in frame. Yeah, you can see it. So I just take small strips, or little small pieces, and this just makes it easy to get into small areas. I use a toothpick to put it down and seal it. So again, I won't do a ton of this on camera because I've shown this like a bazillion times. But a lot of people like to see how I mask. So maybe there's someone who hasn't seen me do it before will watch this and they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, it's not, again, I actually love masking. To me, it's masking is relaxing. It kind of rhymes. I can make a t-shirt out of that. And there's nothing more satisfying than when you spend all that time masking and then you're painting, and then like 2 or 3 days later, when you take all the tape off, you see your clean lines, little to no touch-ups. Was worth all the time spent masking. So in my opinion, this is like probably one of the most important steps in painting, is taking the time and masking things off so that when you go back to take the tape off, you have like maybe 0 touch-ups. I still have touch-ups every once in a while. It's not very often that I have touch-ups when using tape. Sometimes I do. Doesn't mean I don't, but far less than if I was using silly putty. Silly putty, I would have to go back and touch up all the edges because I just wouldn't have a straight, clean line. I'm having a hard time getting this tape up in there, so I'm going to actually cut this at an angle. I need a triangle, just like that. And I can manipulate the tape much easier than silly putty. I'll be right back. Someone's delivering something. Also, I forgot what I was saying. I just reiterate myself all the time about masking and my love-hate, my not hate for silly putty, just how much I don't like to use it that much. Because on a piece like this, we're going to be handling it a lot. Once the silly putty's down, you really can't handle it because it moves. The tape, once it's down, it's pretty much there. I do constantly go back and check my edges and stuff on tape just to make sure nothing's lifted. Because sometimes it does. Not too often. But sorry about my dog in the bark. Someone was had a Walmart delivery and she's freaking out. So yeah, so this is it. We're just going to tape all the areas that need taping. And then today, I think my goal is to get, painting wise, I'd really like to get kind of like the feet painted. We'll see, because it's going to be a lot of hand painting, so it's going to be a slow process. It's going to be like the Samurai Wolverine. Probably not as in-depth as that one, but using my client's reference, I'm going to use it as a go-by, but I'm going to kind of do my own thing, because it's basically a black armored color scheme, which I really, really like. But there's no, it's just like the reference is just like flat black. There's no shading or detail in the armor. So I want to do that. I'm going to maybe do either some hammered metal look or some marbling technique, which I've never done before, but I've played with it. It's actually not that difficult to do. And it's kind of cool. So yeah, so I have some ideas in my head to kind of womp it up a little bit. There you go. So I'm going to continue doing this, and then I'll come back once everything is masked, and we'll do some painting. Okay, so that took a while. When I had masked everything, I did decide to go ahead and mask the back of the head. So the only thing I didn't mask were the fingers on the hands and the toes and ankles on the feet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, kind of look at my reference here. I'm going to start from the feet and work my way up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to hand paint some of this area leather. So like these little straps here, I'm going to do a brown leather. And let's see. I think the top should go leather too. Let's see. So we got, so his sandals are actually different. But we're going to go ahead and do, yeah, okay. So we're going to do some brown leather first on these areas. So let's get a base coat of brown on. Let's see. I actually have, what do I have? So I'm going to start a little brighter and we're going to work our way down. So this is a little orange or red leather by Vallejo. Now my wet palette, I think it's pretty much dead. I couldn't get any more paper for it. Let's see. I can always use, if I got parchment paper, I can use that, but I don't know if I have any parchment paper. Yeah, this is pretty much dead. Let me go see if I got some wax paper, because that'll work too. It's not as well. It doesn't wick the moisture as much. I'll be right back. Alrighty, well I can't use my wet palette because I don't have any paper to put in it, so I'm just going to work out of a normal palette here. Again, Vallejo red leather. Let's put a little bit in here. So I'm going to start lighter and work our way darker. Actually, I'm going to mix that down a little bit. I'm going to mix some of that, and I'm going to put in some raw umber. A little too bright, I think. Okay, so we got some raw umber and the red leather. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it's better. Okay, just like that. And it's gonna be a lot of hand painting. So again, we'll show a little bit on camera, and then I'll have to cut out because I need to be able to get close and put an optivisor on. Just going in here and drop of water in there or something. Don't care if I get it on the bottom of the sandal because it's going to get painted a different color, probably black. All right, so I'm gonna do this and then we'll come back once I get this all base coated. Okay, so I got those leather areas base coated. Took about 2 coats of that leather color. I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. And then I'm gonna go ahead and base coat some black, I think, on the rest of this. I don't know, decide what I want to do here. It's kind of me figuring out. Or what I may do is let this dry, seal this, and then go in with some oils and do the shading on this part, and then work on. I think I'm gonna get this leather area done first, and then probably silly putty it or mask it off, and then spray this part black and go in for the metallics and stuff. So that's probably what I gotta do. So let this dry, we'll seal it, and then we'll do some shading. Okay, so I'm trying something a little different here for leather. I usually use watercolors or acrylics and kind of stipple it on. I'm actually going in with oils, and I'm on top. I sealed this base coat. I'm going in with the black oil, and we're gonna try this out. It's kind of the same technique I've done in the past. I'm just with oil, so I'm just kind of putting little dots of this on here, and then I'm just kind of softening those dots to give it some texture. I'm not even sure this is showing up in camera. It's one of those things where it's kind of hard to show what I'm doing and make sure I can see what I'm doing. Get some lights in here. So just take a little brush like this, put a couple dots, and then a softer brush and just tap it. And then what I'll do is, since these are oils, I'll let this dry. I'll let it dry for a little while before I seal it and do another color. I could just do another color on top, but it may just blend a little too much. I'm also going in here and adding a pretty dark shadow, like at the bottom, right here where the foot meets the sandal. So I put it in the crease and I just tap, kind of drag it. I like the oils because they blend really nicely. They do take a little longer to dry. Like in that little crease right there, put a little bit, tap it, add a shadow. I can drag it down a little bit. So I'll just do a little bit of this on camera because again, it's really hard to get my camera where you can see what I'm doing, but I can describe it a little bit. You can just kind of tap a little bit here and there, and then kind of blend it in. And if I put too much, I can take a Q-tip and wipe it off. But I want these imperfections in this because it's leather. It's supposed to be imperfect. You can see I kind of added a shadow right there between the toes a little bit. I think a shadow there and just bring it down to soften it. So anywhere 2 fabrics meet or 2 surfaces meet, I always put a shadow on the underlying surface. It just gives a lot of dimension to the piece. One thing I see in people who just haven't painted a lot is that they don't do that, and it really does help add dimension to whatever it is you're painting. Be pretty dark and down in here. since I put this on pretty thin, I don't have to let it dry for like days. I'll let it dry for, oh, I don't know. Once the shine is gone, I'll seal it. It's kind of hard to see the shading right now because it's shiny. And the camera's focusing on my arm. But this is what I'm going to do on these leather soles. Like I said, I'm putting in like a little kind of lining right where these sandal meets the foot, and putting in a little shadow up on the foot a little bit. This makes it a much nicer transition between the sandal and the foot. It's not a hard edge. A little too much, I can go there and take some of it off. Yeah, that looks really good. I can just use the oil that's on this brush already to add that little shadow on the foot too. It doesn't take a lot, just need a little bit. I feel like I have a lot of control over the oils. So I kind of like to use them for this kind of thing. A little too much on, I'll take it off. So there you go. So I'm going to continue to do this on both of these, and then I'll seal it, and I'll probably do another color on top. Okay, so I went with that black color. I did a little bit of a shadow brown, and I hit it with a hair dryer. I haven't sealed it yet. I'm going in with a color called light rust. And these have been dried out for a while. These oils are actually pretty old, but the great thing about oils is they never actually dry out. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I haven't sealed this yet. I'm just putting a few dots of this on here and there. I'll show you here on this heel and back here. And I just want some different tones. And I'm just going to kind of stipple this like this. And again, this does not have to be consistent or super neat. I want this to look imperfect and have different tonal variations. So I'm not sure if you can see it in camera because it's shiny, but you can see right there on the heel how we got some nice tonal variations in the leather now. It's not just one color. So I got it pretty dark right now. And I'm going to do this with this light rust. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. My hand's not in the way. Just put them on, stipple it, kind of blend it, soften it up a little bit. So I'm going to do this on everything. I'm going to hit it with the hair dryer for hair dryer for a good, I can't go too long because it's resin. I don't want to soften the resin, but I do want to force dry the oils. And I want to be able to seal this because I'll probably have to go back in and hit the shadow areas again. But I do want to just kind of break this up a little bit with another tone. I'm avoiding the shadow areas for the most part. I'm just kind of hitting the tops here. That looks really good there. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and then we'll come back when I get that all done on both heels, or both feet. Okie dokie. So I hit these, after I got done doing the oils, I hit it with a hair dryer for, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes until the shine went away. Went ahead and sealed it, and this is what we got. And then those are looking pretty good, I think. So for now, I'm going to call these done. I may go back and do some more shadowing, but I like it. It's a nice kind of dark brown leather. Looks really good. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint the toenails and these little claws on the side. And those are just going to go black. So I'm not going to record that. And then when I'm done with that, we'll decide if I want to keep working up the legs today and go from there. All right, so I got the toenails and those little claws painted black. Seal it again. I'm going to go back in with a little bit more weathering on the leather. And we're going to use some rocket exhaust pastels. I just want to darken these soles a little bit more. So we're going to take some. And kind of put it on. I got a set of brushes here used specifically for doing weathering and stuff using pastels. Like I said, treat these shadows a little bit more. Then put it on, blow it off. Tap to blend. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. I can't see what I'm doing, so you guys can see what I'm doing. Can't see shit. Just another kind of layer of dirt and soot on top of everything to again give it a little more dimension and shape. That's looking pretty good right there. So I'm going to call that side good. I think I said I'm using pan pastels. I'm not. These are MIG pastels. Pan pastels are used for skin tones. By reference, they painted the center strip black, but I'm going to leave it brown because I like it better. I think it makes more sense to leave it that color. So I didn't get a lot of painting done today. I actually base coated a bunch of parts in black today too, though. They're drying, so I can work on those tomorrow. So if I get these soles done, it's not a lot of painting, but most of my day was spent masking. Getting ready to do all this stuff, which is sometimes what happens. Okay, I think we're about there. Yeah, that's looking good. So I just darkened the front a little bit, had a little more shadow, and I think I'm going to be happy with that once I seal it. So, all right, we'll seal this and see what it looks like. All righty, so we can zoom out a little bit here. Come on, maybe not. I guess as I can go. I was going to try to zoom out. All right, so we got the soles done of the sandals. Looking really good. So I'm going to let these dry. And I think what I'll do is I'll mask off. Because what I want to do is I think I want to mask this off with masking tape tomorrow. Let this dry overnight. And I'm going to base coat it in black like I did the other pieces. And I think for the leather, I'm going to do a stippling technique similar with the leather, with the oils, but instead I'll use acrylics. And we'll get some texture in the leather because my reference is just kind of, it's got some texture, but I'd like a little more. So I think I'm going to let this dry overnight so I can mask it and do those techniques on that armor. So I also have the dreadlocks base coated in black. So I think I might work on those while I wait for this stuff to dry. So get a little more done today, painting wise. So let's put this to the side, let it dry. I'm actually gonna wash my hands because they're covered in pastel, and I'll come back. Okay, so I'm gonna use the reference for the dreads because I really like what they did here. So they've got the tips are on the reference are kind of like a burgundy, but so one of my airbrush I have Vallejo dark red, and I have it thinned with Mr. Color Thinner. I like that. I didn't know you could thin this with Mr. Color Thinner until someone told me a couple years ago, and I like that because it sprays a lot better. It's much smoother. And I base coated all the dreads in some flat black a little while ago while I was waiting for other things to dry. So now I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of put some on the tip here. I'm going to spray away from, it's going to be hard to see in camera because it's so dang thin. I'm just going to do this, spraying away so that I don't get too much red on there. They've got it coming down quite a bit. Like on this one, they'd have the red coming down about here. This actually might be the exact same color they use because now that it's drying down, it looks pretty much the same. I can go this way a little bit. I just got to be careful I don't get, that it doesn't go down the dread too far. Might get a little softer blend coming back this way too. So let's see if you can see that in camera, in my hand. So we're gonna do that to all the dreads. There's 20 of them. It'll take a little while, and then we'll let that dry for a while because when you thin Vallejo with Mr. Color Thinner, it takes a little while to dry. Just kind of make sure it actually stretches the paint out really nicely. You actually have to use a lot of thinner to the paint. So I'm gonna do that to all these, and then we'll seal them, and then I'll work on, I'm gonna mask and spray these, all the gold stuff, all the trim. I'll probably mask it so I can spray it. I know it's tedious, but it's just a cleaner job. So I'll come back after I spray them and get everything sealed. All right, Tuesday morning, continuing on with the Shadow Elixir. So I did the soles yesterday, and these have dried overnight, and these look really, really good. So I'm happy with that. I'm gonna put that to the side for, well, no, I'm gonna mask that off here in a second, but I want to show you what else I did last night. I gloss coated the blades on all the knives, and then hit it with some, so I gave it a light sanding, 2 white coats of Mr. Color GX Gloss Black, and then 2 light coats of the Mr. Hobby plate silver next. This stuff is crazy expensive. This little bottle of paint's like 15 bucks, but it gives you a really nice polished steel look. I've got a little discrepancy right here on the tip of the blade. I looked at some other buildups, and it's there in all of them, but I might fix that. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and do I'm going to mask this off today and do that kind of, I forgot what the term is, where it's got the different color metal along the edge. So we're going to mask those off. I did that on all the blades. Here's this one. It's got a nice shine to it. It looks like a polished steel. And what else did I do? Oh, and I finished the dreads, the tips of the dreads. So yeah, these look good. Pretty happy with that. And then we'll do that technique along the edge. For the dreads, everything else has got a base coat of black on it. Once I mask off of these toes and everything, I'll base coat all this in black. And hopefully today we'll get more painting done. I didn't get a ton of painting done yesterday because of the masking, and then the soles took quite a while. I started to play with hand painting the gold on the dreads with some, trying a new brand of paint for me called Turbo Dork. I've actually met the people who make this paint. A husband and wife team. They're very nice, but they're actually based here in Texas, not too far from where I live. And it's expensive. This little bottle's $7, but just by the initial hand painting, it looks like it's gonna be nice. But hand painting, it says you have to put 3 to 5 coats on, and that just takes way too freaking long. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mask all these dreads off and spray this on and see what it looks like. But I think it's gonna be a nice color. But the tips look really good after I sealed it. So we got this kind of nice dark. Again, this might be the exact same color they use on the reference because it looks pretty damn close. It's maybe a little brighter, but it looks good. So again, more masking this morning and prep for more painting. So today's goal is to kind of get the dreads done, and then start working on the armor. So I've got some ideas in my head. I thought I was gonna do like a stamped metal, but I think I'll do leather on the armor with the metallic trims and stuff. So hopefully we'll get more done today paint wise, because this is gonna take, again, it's just tedious, time consuming hand painting. Oh, I also coated these blades that come out of his wrist in the gloss black. I'm going to hit these with probably that plate silver. Actually, I may do something else. These actually have a little texture in them, which I kind of like. So I may do, I don't know. We'll figure something out. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to do some masking. I'm not going to show it because it's the same thing, masking, and then we'll come back and do some painting here in a little bit. All right, so I masked off those feet. I got some black on the legs and the waist. I'm letting that dry. While that's drying, I'm masking off the dreads. Now, a lot of people are like, why don't you just hand paint this? And like I said earlier, the paints I'm using require a lot of thin coats with a paintbrush. It's actually quicker for me to mask them off and spray it than it would to hand brush 20 of these things and have to put 3 or 4 coats of paint on, and it'll be a cleaner job. So I'm just going in here and I'm putting in a small piece of tape to outline the detail, the little piece of jewelry. I'm almost actually done with these. And I just come in here and I pull the tape tight. This is one of the few instances where I actually pull on the tape to get it right to go on the edge along that detail. And then I just do this and I come back with another larger piece of tape. I'm not covering the whole dread up. I am covering most of it up just because metallics tend to get on everything for some reason. Like the little particles tend to fly in the air, and you don't want to have those getting on all this paint work we did yesterday. So it takes me about, I don't know, a minute or two to do each of these. The ones that have a really hard curve in the bend are a little trickier because the tape won't conform. So you actually have to go around, you have to do like part of the bend with one piece, and then like right there's wanting to go away from that edge, and then do another piece of tape just so it'll conform to the edge. And then I just come in with my fingernail and seal the tape around that. But this will be a really, really nice clean job. And this will also allow me to, I'll spray the metallics on. I'll put a gloss coat on the metallics and then do a pin wash to bring out the details. So I'll show you that when I start painting. All right, so I got all the dreads masked off, and I'm spraying on some Turbo Dork. This is called Bullion, is the name of their color. It's got a nice kind of, I don't know, it's a nice gold, and it's looking pretty good. It takes about 2 or 3 light coats. Just build it up. That's running straight out of the bottle. I guess, I'm not sure they make it thinner or not, but it just says on the bottle to spray it. So that's what I'm doing. So all the dreads that have this kind of detail, I'm spraying with this color. And then when I do the other dreads with the other detail, I'll do like a copper on them, I think, or a bronze, I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna do these in this gold color. Yeah, it's a very low pigmented paint. So I like this color, and I don't have actually all the golds I have really don't hand brush well anyway. They take several coats of paint. So I'm going to do all these in this color, and then I'll come back and show you the color I'm going to use on the other dreads. Okay, so the next color I'm using is, this is new for me also, is the Army Painter War Paints Air color. This is True Copper, and I'm putting it on the dreads. It's got this little bead detail. It's kind of the same thing. You put it in your airbrush and just mist it on, fill it up slowly. I'll let this all dry for 15-20 minutes, and then I'll put a gloss coat on it. I'll test one with Mr. Color gloss, and then if we'll see how that does, and then hopefully everything dries enough I can do a pin wash on everything. I just had kind of a brain fart. I could have dry brushed all this stuff, but I want a little cleaner job on these pieces of jewelry. So there you go. I'm going to do that to the other 9, and then the metallics on the dreads will be painted. Okay, so while those metallics dry on the dreads, it's going to be a lot of bouncing around as it spray something, wait for something to dry, move on to the next part. I'm going to experiment on kind of what I think I want to do for the armor and leather technique on this stuff. So my reference is a 2-tone, which I do like, which I'll probably stick with. So in the reference, it's kind of black and a dark gray. But I just don't want black. I want to have this have some texture in it. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to do what I like to do a lot of times, is like stipple. So let's get a flat brush. I've got just this is Rain Day gray. It's kind of a cool gray. And you put some on your brush. Just got to have a flat brush here. And I'm going to stipple this everywhere. Take most of it off. And I'm just going to do this real lightly. And then I'll shade this with some clear black. Just constantly turning the brush to get different patterns. And since this is a craft paint, it's very low pigment, so I'm going to have to do this a few times. So again, I want to bring it up a little bit brighter than I need and then knock it back. So my reference, they just kept the center part straight black, but I'm going to do this texture to it. And then I'm going to go do some shading and stuff on it. So it's kind of a gray leather and black leather look, but I want some kind of like the boots or the sandals. I want some variation of tone in there. Just like that. Now we're going to do the back side too, even though you don't see it. It's all sculpted there, so let's go ahead and do that side. So I think I'm going to do this one. I think I'll do this piece of armor all the way through as a test, because it's the simplest of all the pieces of armor as far as like the details go. And then if I like the results, I'll repeat those. I'll repeat it on the other pieces of armor and the boots and stuff. So I got my reference. This panel's gray, gray, black, and so on. So I'm going to bring up these. Excuse me. I'm going to bring up every other panel a little bit brighter. Because I'm going to, excuse me. I'm going to go back and shade these and add some shadow to them. So I'm going to bring this one up a little bit brighter. I may need to get a smaller brush. Let's do that. Let's get a smaller brush for these little panels. Little chisel brush. Bring this one up a little bit brighter. And then when I shade this with the clear black, I'll just go in the little panel lines there, and it'll knock everything down overall just naturally from the shading. And then hopefully these will look a little bit brighter, and the other ones will look almost black. That's my theory, at least. I think that's going to be a nice look. Oops, not that one. The thing about doing this stippling technique, it does mess up your brushes big time. So don't use nice brushes when you do this. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. You can see there's a two-tone look going on. Now, do I want to do the center part two-tone? I don't know. I kind of like it black, but I do want some texture in here. So we're going to do a little bit more. Actually, I could dry brush this area a little bit. Let's do that. Let's dry brush this area a little bit, and then we'll go back in and do some shading on it. And knock it down. Okay, so just like that. Now the back side, I'm not gonna, should I do a two-tone? Yeah, why not? Let's carry it around. Let's make it consistent. And then I will go ahead and seal this with just a quick coat of my sealer, just because these are craft paints or water-based, they come off really easily until they're sealed under something. And since I'm going to be spraying a mixture color clear black on them, I don't want to risk the chance of them moving just from the air pressure of the airbrush. But hopefully by the time I'm done with this will look like leather, two-tone leather. That's the idea, at least. As it dries down, I can go back and add more, because it does dry down about a shade or two when you first put it on. Initially, I thought about doing this in metal, but it's not sculpted like metal, it's sculpted like leather. And I don't think Samurai wore metal. I think it was all leather armor. I bet you we have to stick with what a real samurai does, since this is a predator and it's not based on reality anyway, but it's just too bright. It's okay, we don't see that part. Okay. I think I might just kind of do a little bit overall again. I want a little more texture in that black. So I'm just going to kind of go over it all one more time real lightly. It'll just make the brighter areas brighter. But get a little more. Okay, so I'm going to seal this and then we'll come back and do some shading. All right, so seal that, hit with the hair dryer. Now we've just got some Mr. Color GX Clear Black in my airbrush, and we're going to see how this works. Let's see. I'm basically just going to hit those lines. Okay, just like that. These edges a little bit. All right, bye. Okay. And then the areas there that are black, I'm going to go in here and just kind of hit them straight on. I think it's looking pretty good. Get a better idea once I seal it, how we look. Same thing on this side. hit the black areas. Here that shadow, so these little, we got a shadow down this side too. And then this gets a little shadow here. Paint a little on the thick side, but that's okay. A little dry tip. Okay, so the center section, I'm going to overspray a little bit of black on it. And hopefully when I seal it, you'll see my subtle shading. No. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Maybe a little blacker, it's a little bit harder, again, a little darker. Okay, so I think once I seal this, we'll have a good look. So I'm gonna let this dry for a minute and we'll seal it. Alrighty, I sealed it and I think this looks pretty good. I'm gonna paint the little rivets. Actually, again, I'm gonna use my go by because I like what they did here. I'm gonna try not to copy stuff exactly, but when it looks good, you kind of go with it. So what they did is they did this little outline right here. It's actually a brown leather, so let's do that. I'll hand paint that. I'll put a base coat of burnt sienna down. Oh, got a little brush somewhere. Here we go. There's some burnt sienna. I need my optivisor on. What do I do with it? I can't see. Oh, it's right there. Okay. So hopefully I can show you what I'm doing while I'm wearing my optivisor. This is the golden air. So this is actually it's not the golden air. I'm ready to shake this up a little more. Should be a little thicker than that. See, that's a little bit better. Yeah, just didn't have it shaken up enough. I'll take a couple of coats since we're going over black, but it's okay. So all I'm going to do, I'll get this one piece of armor done, and I'll send a picture to my client, see if he digs it. If he does, and I'll continue doing the same steps on all the other pieces, but I probably won't show it because, again, this is just really slow, tedious work. I did want to show the techniques on one of them. Okay, go around here. I don't actually care if I get 100% opacity. I'm just going to go back in, and just like with the other leather techniques, I'm going to stipple in a highlight color and kind of blend it out and stuff. So it doesn't have to be 100% coverage. But I do kind of want a warmer red leather. This little patch here. I'm going to go back in with, where is it? I had some raw sienna. I think I do. Yeah, some raw sienna, which is kind of a yellow tint on top of this. Okay, so let's do that while this is still wet. Just use the same brush. It's a little raw sienna. Let me shake it up further. And kind of the same thing as usual. I'm going to put some on my brush, take most of it off. Just dab it on. Kind of blending it in with the burnt sienna. Look at some nice textures coming through. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I just realized that. And then once this dries, we'll seal it, and I'll go in and add a little shadow. I can do it on the feet. And this is what takes so long on these pieces, is this little stuff right here. You'll be going like gangbusters, like, oh man, it's gonna go fast, and you get to a little spot like this, and it just grinds to a halt. But it's what shows makes these pieces look really badass in the end, is all this little tiny detail stuff. So it's worth the effort. I got this kind of nice yellowy warm leather, and then I'm going to darken it down with a shadow here in a bit. The trick to making this stuff all look good is, after you get done with your color, is really go in and add the shadows and everything, all those little shadows. It just really helps set everything apart. Makes it look much more realistic, a little more worn. Okay, We'll let this dry, seal it, and then we'll add a shadow. Okay, so I'm using the oils I had from yesterday. This is actually shadow brown, it's not black. I add a little bit of mineral spirits to this because it had dried overnight, but you just add a little mineral spirits and it reactivates it. And we're going to go in here and where's my little soft brush? Here it is. Again, just put it right in the crevice here. Coming back with a soft brush and tapping. And just like that, it blends it in a little bit better. It's not so stark. It grounds it to the other piece that is sitting on top of. And again, since I'm putting this on real light, I'll just hit it with the hair dryer for a minute or so, and that can seal it and keep moving. So I'm tapping towards the shadow, towards that crevice. A little more mineral spirits. Actually, this is shadow brown there. Yeah, right there. That's good. So darken everything down just a little bit, add a little bit of a shadow. I'm going to hit this edge too a little bit. And just tapping towards the crevice. See a little discrepancy there in my paint right there that I don't like, so we'll just fix it with a shadow. Just like that. And it takes care of it. Okay, it's looking good. And then this top plate right here is going to get metallic. Go rubber bronze or something. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we've got some really subtle shading going on there. And it's very, very subtle, but man, it makes a huge difference. All right, so I'm gonna hit that with a hairdryer I'll hit it with a hairdryer for about, a minute or two. It's really, really thin. It's mostly mineral spirits. And then I'll seal that, and then we'll do the metallics. Okay, so now I'm going in with Vallejo liquid gold and just tediously hand painting all these little rivets and everything. So I'm not gonna show this on camera because it's like right up next to my face and I can't have the camera showing you what I'm doing, but that's the color I'm using. I'm gonna paint all those rivets on here in the front, and then this plate also. I'll seal it and I'll do a little wash around everything to give it a little bit of weathering. I'll show that when I get back. Okay, so I actually switched colors. I went back to my Turbo Dork bullion color because this was not going on as smooth as I think it's dried out. But yeah, it took about 3 coats, but this looks really good. I'm going to seal it's going to knock it down a little bit, and then I'm going to put a little bit of a wash around these rivets on that panel, and then seal it again. Then this piece should be done. I'll send a picture to my client, see what he thinks. All right, so I sealed it here with the hairdryer, and I'm going to go back in with my oil again. With some mineral spirits on it. Make sure I got the right cup. That's thinner. Got too many cups. Need to label them. Here's mineral spirits. Put some mineral spirits on there and get some of this shadow brown. I really want this kind of runny. And I should be able to drop this here, and it should go around just like that. I'm going to dab off the top a little bit. Now just give me a little detail around there. I can even go around these other ones. Just help clean up any discrepancies in my painting a little bit. It's got to be really runny. Yeah. Just a little touch. Let's add just a little bit of shading around them all. And just dab it off the top. Again, this is mostly mineral spirits, so it'll dry really quick. And I'll be able to seal it. Okay, that's gonna look really good. So I'm gonna dry this, and then we'll take a look at it. Okay, so I think that one's done. I'm gonna send this to my client, see what he says, and then if he likes it, we will repeat all these steps on all the other armor, which will take forever. So I'll come back later once I got some more done. But what I can do now is I can actually clear coat the dreads in preparation for a wash on those. Okay, as I'm going in with my oils again, and just using a shadow brown, doing a pin wash on these parts right here. So it's pretty simple to get some mineral spirits, just like on the rivets. And you just touch it, and it'll run into all the crevices. And it sometimes takes 1 or 2 times to get it all in there, but it just brings out all those details. So I'm going to do that to all the dreads, let this dry, and then I'll do a clear coat over it, and then unmask these, and the dreads will be done. All right, take 2 on the armor. So I sent a photo of my client, and he wants a little more contrast, which I do agree. After I looked at it a little bit more, I went ahead and clear coated the dreadlocks after I did the pin wash and unmasked everything, and they look really good. So the dreadlocks are officially done. There's that one like that, and then here's one with the little copper detail. So those look really good. So those are going to continue drying, and then those are done. So I went ahead and masked off the leather and the metal detail because I really like what I had going on there, and that's what really took the longest. So I think what we're going to do is think of another approach of this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use kind of the same colors, but I'm going to do a little different, I think. Because I need to start, I need to start brighter. I think that's my problem. I wasn't bright enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use that same gray I had before. I'm going to dry brush the whole piece, but I gotta get some clean water. So I get a little water, dip my brush in there, get most of it off, as much of it off as I can. I just don't think I started bright enough. Get some paint on there, and then we're gonna get most of this, as much off as we can. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna do this number. Again, I want to try to get some texture in this. Because it's sculpted in, might as well try to bring it out a little bit. So I went ahead and just hit this with some black downward resin and let it dry while I was finishing up the dreads. Okay, so now we're pretty bright. And I'm going to go back and do the same thing I did, I think, with the clear black. And hopefully this will get us where we need to be. On this piece. Okay. So I'm going to seal this and then we're going to do the shading and then I'll come back and show it to you. Okay, so after doing the dry brushing and reshading it, I think this looks better. So I added a little more shape to the center part. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit longer, send this back to my client, and hopefully he likes it. And then I'll re-add the rivets. Okay, so I went back and painted those rivets and everything and gave this another little coat of sealer. I'm going to bring my exposure down a little bit. And this is what we're going to go with. So it looks good. So what I've already done is I've started to dry brush the legs and lower torso with the gray. I'm going to seal it. I'm going to start doing a ton of shading, and we're just going to keep doing that to everything else. And then once I get done with all the black and the shading, we'll take a look at it. And then after that, it's just a ton of hand painting. So yeah, we'll just keep going. Okay, so it took a very long time, all day yesterday and a little bit this morning, to get all the shading done on the black. And it's looking pretty good, but I'm going to go back in. I'm going to add a couple highlights here and there on a couple of these panels, just according to my reference, just so it's not so monotone. So I got some just It's a custom mix. It's my Batman mid-tone that I mixed up for a previous project. I'm just going in there and just adding a little bit of brightness in a few areas, very, very lightly, because I got the black kind of where I want it. It's got a nice weathered look to it. So my reference, everything's like solid black or solid gray. So I wanted to add some texture to it. So that's why I did all the dry brushing and stuff. If I'm careful, I can go in here and just brighten up a few of these panels without affecting anything else around it. My air pressure is pretty low. I'm barely pulling the trigger back. Let me just thin this down a little bit more. It's kind of sputtering. Could be my airbrush too. I really need to get new needles and tips for most of my airbrushes, but they're so damn expensive. I think I need to thin this down a little bit more. It's coming out a little, not coming out as smoothly as I wanted. I'd rather have it come out thinner than thicker. So I don't want to brighten up the black around the areas that I'm highlighting. There we go. So I'm just going real careful here. And if it's a little inconsistent, that's okay. Just kind of adds to the look. But the interesting thing about this is that none of the armor is the same. So the boots are different. All the skirts are different. So nothing is consistent as far as like the sculpt goes, which is, I guess it kind of makes sense if you're, I don't know. So you can kind of do what you want. And once I start doing all the detail painting, this is really starting to pop. So just like that, I'm gonna go through and pick out some panels and just add some highlights and everything. And then once I'm done with that, I'll seal it. And then I can start the arduous task of painting all the metallics, which will take me a very long time. So once I'm done with all the highlighting, everything, I'll come back. Okay, so I finally got all the black leather done. That took a very long time. So anyway, this is like an example of what I got going on. This is the upper torso, obviously. So after all that dry brushing and everything, I went in and did all the shading with the clear black, sealed everything, and then I went into some very light highlighting in a few panels, just like here and back in here, just to kind of help break things up. There's a lot of areas that don't look finished because these are all get, like all this area gets metallic. This crest on the head gets metallic. So my reference photo, everything's just solid black, and it's kind of boring. So I wanted to give this some texture, the leather some texture, and I think this looks really good. So it's kind of hard to see right now, but once we get all the metallics on and all these other leather straps painted brown leather, it's going to look really, really sharp. So I'm just going to do a quick show of this because the other parts are drying, but this is kind of what we got going on. So I'm going to call this work in progress done. And then I'm going to start on doing metallics in the next work in progress, so stay tuned.